For years, Barron Trump remained one of the most private members of America's most famous political family. Unlike his father, Donald Trump, or his older siblings, Barron rarely appeared in interviews, avoided public statements, and largely stayed outside the political spotlight. But now, that may be changing. As Barron enters adulthood, his name has begun appearing in political discussions and online debates more frequently than ever before. At the same time, memories of an earlier legal battle involving Melania Trump have resurfaced, one that centered on protecting her son from public speculation. So why is this issue back in the headlines? Is this simply another example of intense public interest surrounding the Trump family, or does it highlight a much bigger question about where the line should be drawn when it comes to the adult children of political leaders? Today, we're breaking down what is actually known, what remains speculation, and why this conversation has become increasingly controversial. Welcome back. In today's video, we're taking a closer look at the renewed attention surrounding Barron Trump and the legal and political context that has brought his name back into public conversation. We'll examine why Barron is receiving more media attention today than in previous years, the history of Melania Trump's legal efforts to challenge rumors about her son, why some political commentators believe public scrutiny of presidential families is changing, and why legal experts continue to stress the importance of separating verified facts from online speculation. This story isn't just about one individual, it's also about privacy, politics, media responsibility, and the challenges that come with belonging to one of the world's most closely watched families. So, let's begin at the beginning. Since Donald Trump first entered national politics in 2015, nearly every member of the Trump family has attracted intense public attention. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner all accepted highly visible public roles during the Trump administration. Barron Trump, however, followed a very different path. Throughout his childhood and teenage years, he largely remained outside political campaigns and public interviews. Aside from official appearances with his parents at major events, relatively little was publicly known about his personal life. That privacy was largely respected by many major news organizations while Barron was a minor. Now that he is an adult, however, public discussion surrounding him has gradually increased. Some commentators argue that adulthood naturally brings greater public scrutiny for members of influential political families, particularly if they become involved in political events or public activities. Others believe that even as an adult, Barron deserves a greater degree of privacy because he has never chosen to become a public political figure in the same way as other members of his family. That disagreement has become one of the central questions driving today's debate, and it's also why an earlier legal dispute involving Melania Trump has suddenly become relevant once again. To understand why today's discussion has become so sensitive, it's important to go back several years. During the 2016 presidential campaign, Barron Trump was still a minor. As Donald Trump dominated headlines, Barron occasionally became the subject of online commentary, memes, and speculation, despite having almost no public role in the campaign. One particular online video sparked widespread controversy after it speculated about Barron's health and behavior. The claims quickly spread across social media, prompting intense debate. Supporters of the video argued they were raising awareness, while many others criticized it for focusing on a child who had never chosen to enter the political arena. The controversy grew large enough that Melania Trump decided to respond through legal counsel. Melania Trump's attorney issued a strongly worded statement demanding the removal of the content. The legal team argued that spreading speculation about Barron's personal life was harmful, irresponsible, and unacceptable, especially because he was a child at the time. Soon afterward, the video's creator removed the content and publicly apologized. Regardless of where people stood politically, the incident became one of the clearest examples of the Trump family drawing a firm legal line around Barron's privacy. For many observers, the message was unmistakable. Certain subjects involving Barron Trump were considered off-limits, and the family was prepared to defend that position aggressively if necessary. Fast forward to today, and the circumstances are different in one important respect. Barron Trump is now an adult. That simple fact has changed the public conversation. Some commentators argue that adult family members of powerful political figures may naturally receive greater public scrutiny than they did as children. Others counter that becoming an adult does not automatically erase an individual's expectation of privacy, particularly if that person has not sought public office, accepted a government position, or actively participated in political decision-making. This difference of opinion has fueled countless debates across television, podcasts, and social media. One point repeatedly emphasized by legal analysts is the importance of distinguishing verified information from rumor. Public figures, and especially members of political families, often become the subject of online speculation. But speculation alone is not evidence. Responsible reporting focuses on documented facts, official statements, and verifiable public records rather than assumptions or viral claims. That distinction matters not only for journalists, but also for anyone discussing high-profile individuals online. As Barron Trump's name appears more frequently in political conversations, many legal observers say maintaining that standard is more important than ever. For most of his childhood, Barron Trump remained largely out of the public eye. Unlike several of his older siblings, he did not take on a prominent role in political campaigns, participate in frequent media interviews, or become a regular spokesperson for the Trump Organization. That relative privacy made him something of an exception within one of America's most recognizable political families. However, as Barron has reached adulthood, public curiosity has naturally increased. He has occasionally appeared alongside his family at major political events, and media outlets have reported on milestones such as his college education and public appearances. Those developments have led some commentators to ask whether Barron's public profile is beginning to change. Whenever a president or former president is in the national spotlight, attention often extends beyond the office holder. Throughout American history, presidential relatives have attracted varying levels of public interest. Some family members have embraced public roles, while others have intentionally stayed away from politics. That raises an important question. Should adult children of political leaders receive the same level of public scrutiny as elected officials? There is no simple answer. Some argue that adulthood alone makes public discussion more acceptable, especially if someone voluntarily attends political events or becomes more visible. Others believe that unless an individual chooses a formal public role, they should not become the focus of political attacks simply because of their family name. It's a debate that has no universally accepted standard. Political analysts often point out that family members can become symbols in larger political battles. Supporters may view criticism of a politician's relatives as unfair or overly personal. Critics, meanwhile, may argue that the public has a legitimate interest whenever members of influential families become more visible in political circles. The result is often a highly emotional discussion, where facts, opinions, and social media narratives become intertwined. In today's digital environment, stories can spread worldwide within minutes, making it increasingly difficult to separate verified reporting from online speculation. That is one reason many journalists emphasize the importance of relying on credible sources before drawing conclusions. Beyond the personal aspect, political strategists frequently consider how public reactions shape broader campaigns. History has shown that attacks perceived as personal or unfair can sometimes generate sympathy for the person being criticized, regardless of political affiliation. Conversely, questions based on documented evidence and verified facts are generally viewed differently than claims driven primarily by rumor. For both major political parties, navigating that distinction can have significant political consequences. It's a reminder that public perception often depends not only on what is being discussed, but how it is presented. One of the most difficult questions in modern politics has nothing to do with elections or policy. Instead, it's about privacy. How much public attention should the relatives of powerful political leaders receive? There isn't a single rule that answers that question, every administration has faced it in different ways, and every family has handled it differently. Some presidential relatives have welcomed media attention, while others have worked hard to avoid it. Barron Trump has generally fallen into the second category. Throughout the years, he has rarely given interviews, made political speeches, or attempted to build a public political identity of his own. That history is why many observers believe discussions involving him require extra care and context. Media organizations often distinguish between verified facts and online speculation. That distinction becomes especially important when discussing people who have not held elected office or served in official government positions. Responsible reporting focuses on information that can be confirmed through credible sources, official records, or on-the-record statements. By contrast, rumors circulating on social media, even when widely shared, do not become facts simply because they receive attention. Legal analysts frequently note that repeating unverified claims can expose individuals and organizations to significant legal risks, particularly if those claims concern someone's reputation or personal life. That's one reason established news organizations generally place a high value on verification before publication. Political communication isn't just about facts, it's also about perception. Campaign strategists from both major parties understand that public opinion can shift quickly depending on how an issue is framed. If criticism is viewed as evidence-based and focused on matters of public interest, audiences may respond one way. If criticism appears personal, speculative, or directed towards someone who has largely remained private, audiences may respond very differently. History has shown that voters often react not only to the substance of a controversy, but also to the tone in which it is presented. That is why political advisors frequently urge campaigns to stay focused on documented issues rather than personal attacks. The renewed conversation surrounding Barron Trump illustrates a broader reality of American politics. In today's digital age, public figures and even their family members can become the center of national conversations within hours. Social media, podcasts, live streams, and online commentary can amplify stories at an unprecedented speed. But with that speed comes responsibility. The challenge for journalists, commentators, and audiences alike is distinguishing between legitimate reporting and speculation. That challenge isn't unique to one political party or one family. It's part of a much larger conversation about fairness, accountability, and the standards that should guide public debate. As the political landscape continues to evolve, it's likely that public interest in the Trump family will remain high. Donald Trump continues to dominate political headlines, and with that attention often comes renewed interest in those closest to him. Whether that attention is justified or excessive will continue to be debated. What is clear, however, is that discussions involving family members require careful handling, especially when those individuals have not held elected office or taken on formal government responsibilities. One lesson repeatedly emphasized by legal experts is straightforward: claims should be supported by evidence. In today's digital world, rumors can spread across social media in minutes, but widespread discussion does not transform speculation into fact. For journalists, commentators, and viewers alike, the strongest approach is to rely on verifiable information, official records, and credible reporting. That principle protects not only individuals who become the subject of public attention, but also the integrity of public debate itself. This story also highlights a larger issue in American politics. Increasingly, political conversations extend beyond elected officials and into the lives of their families. Some argue that's unavoidable because presidential families often become public symbols. Others believe political disagreements should remain focused on public policy, official actions, and documented conduct, not on individuals who have largely stayed outside the political arena. Regardless of political affiliation, that balance remains one of the most challenging questions facing modern media. The renewed attention surrounding Barron Trump isn't simply about one person. It's about how political narratives develop. It's about how quickly online conversations can shape national headlines. And it's about the responsibility that comes with discussing public figures in an era where information and misinformation can travel faster than ever before. As audiences become more aware of these dynamics, many are placing greater value on reporting that clearly distinguishes between verified facts, informed analysis, and unconfirmed speculation. That distinction may not always generate the loudest headlines, but it often produces the most trustworthy journalism. As this story continues to unfold, new developments may emerge, and public discussion will almost certainly continue. But regardless of where viewers stand politically, one principle remains essential. Evidence should come before conclusions. Public scrutiny is an important part of any democracy, particularly when it involves powerful political figures. At the same time, fairness, accuracy, and responsible reporting are equally important. Those principles help ensure that public debate remains focused on facts rather than assumptions, and that conversations about high-profile families are conducted with the care they deserve. What do you think? Should adult members of presidential families expect greater public scrutiny, or should they continue to receive a higher level of privacy unless they choose a public role? Share your perspective in the comments below, but as always, keep the discussion respectful and focused on verified information. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more in-depth coverage of the biggest political stories shaping America, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next report. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.